Is President Milei the man of integrity he claims to be? Or are whiffs of corruption beginning to float around his government? Welcome to A Bloke in Buenos Aires, presenting news and views in English from the capital of Argentina. Please feel free to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. So, when Javier Milei won the election, and come to think of it for quite some time before, I was very suspicious of the man and his intentions. Is this guy just another chancer who's seen the country desperate and on its knees, and is going to do a quick smash and grab? It's a very South American story. It's a very Argentine story. But 3 months later, and I'm breathing something like a sigh of relief. Milei seems to be a man with honest intentions. Flying on foreign trips by commercial airline and refusing much of the ostentatiousity of state certainly sends good signals and plays well with Milei's mantra of "there's no money." His fiery temper is a little worrying, as is Milei's habit of saying what he actually thinks before considering the consequences of his words. I don't think Milei ever really thought he would be elected. Maybe he just saw himself on the political sidelines, shouting some home truths to make the people and the political caste think a little. Someone never expecting power has the freedom to do and say pretty much whatever they want. Perhaps Milei was surprised when his words touched a nerve with the population and he rode a wave of populism all the way to the Pink House. Having got into power, and with such a small representation in the Congress, President Milei is finding himself having to adapt to the political game very quickly. While running for office, Milei had some very harsh words for various international figures who he now finds himself having to deal with, the princely of those being President Lula in Brazil. Milei is already proving to be a very divisive figure at home, not dissimilar to his hero Donald Trump. In a small part of society, he inspires an almost cult-like following. But Milei would do well to remember that most people didn't vote for him, they voted against more of the status quo. But even if President Milei is honest in his intentions, one man alone can't run all aspects of the government. And with corruption so deeply entrenched in the Argentine political system, how far can he expect to hold his cabinet and his party to the same high standards? How long before the masks around him start to slip? An example came to light last week with the Congress deputies awarding themselves a 30% pay rise signed into force in February by the Vice President. As the story began to break in the media, President Milei took to Twitter and the pay rise was quickly rescinded. The President, quite reasonably, said that it was wrong to give representatives such a huge pay rise while those they represent are living in real poverty. Then just a few days later, it came to light that the president himself had received a 48% pay rise, which, to his credit, he quickly rejected. The whole embarrassing mix-up was put down to a clerical error and blamed on a law from 2010 during the Cristina Kirchner era, which gave those in Congress automatic pay increases. That law has also quickly been repealed. Clerical error it may have been, but it gave an opportunity to Milei's enemies, including Cristina herself, to point a finger of suspicion at the government. I mean, how can the vice president sign something so blatantly corrupt into law and then when caught try to blame it on something from 14 years ago? Anyway, a guy was quickly found and Labour Secretary Omar Yazin was fired. Every news report has some kind of bias, and it's often frustratingly difficult to get a balanced view. Ground News is a website and app that gathers all the world's media in one place so you can compare coverage. Ground News lets you see the story behind the story, using data-driven analysis that looks at things like the political bias, reliability, and ownership of news outlets. To get a 40% discount off a subscription to Ground News, click on the link in the description below. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe to see more similar content. And if you want to support the channel, you can buy me a coffee in the link below. And until next time, que tengas un buen día.